Colts Nation, if helmets or helmet accessories interest you, make sure to go to greengridiron.com and use code INDSYN at checkout to get the discount code with it. Whether it's mini helmets, full-size helmets, visors, clips, whatever it may be, different face masks, different variations of helmets, alternate helmets, whatever the case, you can get it at Green Gridiron. And again, that's code INDSYN at checkout for the discount. Thanks for stopping by for another video, and now let's get into it. What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where today we're going to talk a little bit about the tight ends, right? We've been having the conversation of, hey, who do we sign in free agency? And don't forget, we have a cap number to worry about. You guys made your vote on the quarterback. A lot of you guys, at least, I believe, last I saw, there was like 178 or 198 votes on that, something like that. If you guys didn't see that community post, go to the channel page, go to the community page, go vote on that if you haven't been able to see the poll, just so I can get your opinion on that. Putting out the running back, and at least by the time you're seeing this, the running back poll should already be out. So also go make sure to vote on that one. And just remember, as we're voting on this and as we're building this team together, then we're going to have to abide by the salary cap, and we're going to do our best to do that. And I think with the options that we're looking at in terms of tight end free agency, right? Of course, the star tight ends aren't going to be in free agency. That's just not what happens. Not usually, at least. So when you're looking at it, the tight end, the cap numbers that we're looking at for free agents, for veteran free agents in the tight end market, it's going to be low, right? You look at of all the free agents, the one that made the most money last year is going to be Tyler Conklin at 6.75, right? So it's not a huge number for any of these guys. And of the entire list, like this entire list, there's not a single one of these guys that you bring in and you think, boom, this solves our tight end problem. So at the end of the day, the draft is definitely going to have to be something that happens, maybe a trade even. If we can't get Tyler Warren or we can't get Arroyo in the draft, one of those two guys, then we're not able to get a star tight end, then at some point we're probably going to have to trade for a guy. Like, you can't just continue to have one position on your offense that's essentially not even there on pass plays. So what we're looking at here, since we're looking at the draft for sure, that's not an option here. I went and I wanted to make sure I picked 4 guys that have a potential to actually be considered, a potential to actually be able to come here. And of course, the one deterrent is because Anthony Richardson's not proven. This team is not proven. Veteran guys want to go to teams that have a chance to win. That is, for every one of the guys that we're going to name, that's the situation. They would rather go to a place that's going to win, but we need a tight end. Maybe we could overpay a little bit. So that's the situation, just in case anybody wanted to hop in the comment section with that on anybody. Just get that out of the way. But I do want you guys to get in the comment section as we go through this and let me know what your thoughts are on the whole situation, what your thoughts are on each player, coming to the Colts and the possibility of that. And we might need a couple of these guys. I think if we can get one guy in the draft and one guy in free agency, that would be ideal. But for the purposes of this, we have 4 choices, and let's see what Colts Nation thinks we should do, right? Going for one of the free agents here, starting with Zach Ertz. Right, and this is another guy coming from the Commanders, right? We talked about Marcus Mariota, and on that quarterback poll, Marcus Mariota got the least amount of votes. That's my favorite, and that's the one that got the least amount of votes. And this is another one where it's not like you're bringing. I mean, Zach Ertz still produced. Right, he was still able to produce. He had a good season with Jaden Daniels over there in Washington. Even a guy that is 34 years old, during the season next year, he'll be 35 if he does. Now, there are 2 different guys on this list that might hang him up. Zach Ertz might hang him up if he decides to play, and he can't get on the team with a contender. Then hey, maybe we have a chance at Zach Ertz. You bring him in, same reason you bring in Marcus Mariota. You bring in Marcus Mariota because he's a really good, level-headed veteran that has plenty of starting experience in the league if you have to throw him in there, that can still run an RPO-type system, so has some mobility even at his age, right? So when you think about that, and then you think about bringing in Zach Ertz, another guy that Washington said, hey, we need to go get some of these free agent, these, really veteran guys, a lot of starting experience. And it helped them, a very young team. It helped a very young team out to have these guys. And again, Zach Ertz produced. Bring him in with the young tight ends. Let Zach Ertz teach these young tight ends a little bit about, what he's learned, right? He can help, because that just naturally happens, especially for these veteran guys, helping the young guys figure it out so that when they get on the field and they come in relief of Zach Ertz, because especially at the age of 35, he's getting pulled off the field more than he was earlier in his career, right? So you just assume he would help the younger tight ends be able, hey, this is what we're seeing here. If they're throwing this at you, this is what you do, right? And help the young tight ends be able to see a different side of the NFL, right? They're not just hearing the voices of guys that have been on the Colts. You go get a guy that's been in a few different locker rooms, a guy that's had a lot of success, right? I believe Zach Ertz, Super Bowl champion. I believe he was still on that team. So Zach Ertz would be a really good option, in my opinion. You look at what he was making this past year was a $3 million deal with Washington, and I think that's very doable. And the other guy right underneath him here on this list is Mike Gesicki at $2.5 million a year. Went with the Bengals this past season. He's going to be a free agent again. He's 29 years old, and this is just an interesting option because he's somebody who, he's had some really good years. If you play fantasy football, you definitely know who Mike Gesicki is. Mike Gesicki has had some good seasons. Of course, being with the Dolphins, inconsistent quarterback play there for so long. And of course, it's the same here. So would he want to go from playing with Joe Burrow to playing with us? There's a good chance that probably wouldn't happen. But where is he going to be able to go at the age that he's at? I think he produced enough that somebody will definitely take a chance on him. He's of course going to want to go somewhere where he can win. But I just think that at the end of the day, if we were able to add Mike Gesicki into the room and then you're able to draft one of the two rookie tight ends that we mentioned earlier on, I think that would be good. I think that would be a really good tight end room. Obviously, hoping Jelani stays healthy. Will Mallory is there. Drew Ogletree is there. And if those ended up being the 5 tight ends we rolled with into the season, 2025 season, I'd be fine with that. So Mike Gesicki, also a very interesting option. Juwan Johnson. Again, if you play fantasy, you know who this is. This is tight end for the Saints. Very good player. Again, inconsistent quarterback play, but a guy that when the quarterback plays well, Juwan Johnson produces. And that those two just go hand in hand. So Juwan Johnson, he's 28 years old. He'll turn 29 during the season next year. We can snag him up for a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal. I'm not going to sit here and say, again, none of these free agents are going to come in and be an absolute star. But I think that Juwan Johnson could come in with as big a body as he is, as physical as he is. He is a physically imposing tight end, and I think the attitude that he brings to the game would be good for that room. I think it'd be good for the offense, his toughness, and just a lot of things about him. I've paid attention to Juwan Johnson for a little while now. Really underrated player, doesn't get a lot of shine because New Orleans hasn't had success, but man, somebody who really, when Derek Carr got there and he played well, it looked like Juwan Johnson was going to start him, and then of course Derek Carr, as what generally happens, fell off a bit. Now, of course, one thing about Juwan Johnson is that he's going to be one of the more high-priced tight ends in free agency. He made $6 million this past year. And again, when there's consistent quarterback play, and at least good quarterback play, he's a guy that produces. So going forward, that's a guy that I like. And then another one, and this one just veteran presence. It would be like Mo Alley Cox level production, but a guy that you're not going to have to pay a lot of money to, but you can pay, overpay him for his veteran leadership, how long this man has been in the league, how long he's done it, the toughness, the success, the down years with different teams, right? Marcedes Lewis, who is 41 years old, very easily could retire at any point. But this is a guy that I just believe he's been around the league so much. And if you just know anything about Marcedes Lewis, like people call him Big Dog, the players that have been around him absolutely love him. Incredible veteran player. And I think if we were able to bring in Marcedes Lewis, just as that veteran presence, if you gotta overpay him, right? Chicago Bears paid him $2 million this past year. If we got to pay him 3, pay him 3. Like if we got to low key, if we got to pay him 5, Like, that's where I'd be willing to go to get him in the building. Like, if we didn't have like any other playmaking options in free agency, like nonetheless, the veteranship that he's going to bring to not only the tight end room, not only the offense, but the team as a whole. Again, as long as he's been in the league, man, he's 41 years old, or at least he's 40 right now, going to be 41 very shortly. So by the time the season starts, he'd be 41. And man, if you brought him in after 19 years of experience, if you brought him in his 20th season, and he was able to just spout off what it's like to be a professional. He's been in so many different places. So who else in the league like him and Aaron Rodgers? And he played with Aaron Rodgers, so they have kind of the same perspective. They're like, I think, the same age. Pretty sure Aaron Rodgers is 41. So I just think, again, with how young this team is and how many guys have been Colts their whole career, I think an outside voice and somebody that's been in different teams and different locker rooms with different head coaches and so many different roster turnovers from year to year, and seeing what a professional outfit does and what works to win and what happens when a team is losing, and those kinds of things, and the habits that separate the good from the bad. Like, you bring that's what we need to bring into the building, is those outside voices, which is what Ballard said, bringing in more of those outside guys for competition. But I do think there is value in the fact that bringing them in brings that outside voice. You get perspective from somebody that's not been there the whole time. So I think getting a roster shakeup is going to be good, and any of these tight ends for me would be okay. I don't really have much of a preference here. Honestly, I think Zach Ertz would be nice. I think he's still a playmaker, can still produce on the field. Obviously not as explosive as he was before, but he can clearly still produce on the field, and a good veteran presence, a lot of success in his career, but also some down years. So same conversation with Marcedes Lewis, right? Understanding good habits, bad habits, that sort of thing, winning habits, losing habits. So maybe Zach Ertz would be my preference. With Washington's turnaround and the way they did it, Washington went after specific veteran players at specific positions to give them veteran leadership on a very young team that they're trying to rebuild and reestablish, and it worked out for them. Now, obviously, they changed a lot, everything there, right? Ownership, GM, coach, everything changed, right? Quarterback, so much change. So it's a different situation, but I think you can follow that roadmap, and that's what I hope the Colts are able to do. So our options here are going to be Zach Ertz, Mike Gesicki, Juwan Johnson, Marcedes Lewis. That's what we're talking about here on this channel. Of course, if you guys have anybody throughout the tight end list that you think might be a better option to bring in, put it down in the comments, just like the quarterback poll. If I need to tweak it and take someone out, insert somebody else, I will. But I looked through this for a good minute, and I feel like this was the best 4 that I could pull. So you let me know your thoughts on this down in the comment section. Be ready for that poll to come out probably tomorrow. And of course, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you continue to get notified anytime there's any more content dropping on this channel. Of course, appreciate you stopping by for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.